You know, I really had a difficult time trying to figure out how I was going to start this video, because when Topping sent me the LA50 amplifier for review, I would associate Topping with, DACs and headphone amps and combinations thereof. Not really so much for an integrated amplifier. But here we are, and this is my review of the Topping LA90 integrated amplifier. So what is the Topping LA90? It is an integrated Class AB amplifier made out of machined aluminum, large heat sinks, but it takes up a very small space. The claim to fame for this amplifier is the extremely low distortion that this amplifier puts out. So what do you get with this amp? You get 3 balanced inputs, your basic off and on switch, an input switch, a volume control, and that's pretty much it. It's very basic, but it is excellent at what it does. There's no remote control, sorry. You can run it as a stereo amplifier, or you could run it with 2 of them as mono blocks if that's what you want to do. Oh, and the price, $8.99. Now, for all the specs and all the details, because there's a lot to cover, I put the link to the APOS site, in the description down below. So make sure you check that out, and you get all the particulars on this amplifier. I think this was intended to be used with the Topping 90 stack. That'd be their D90 DAC. There's a 90 pre-amplifier if you want to go that route. So there's a lot of versatility with that stack. But of course, you can use this standalone with your own sources if that's what you want to do. Now, let's talk about the power. So it's rated at 110 watts into 4 ohms, but that's at 10% total harmonic distortion. And then 90 watts into 4 ohms with under 1%. And then 50 watts per channel into 8 ohms, less than 1%. But where the measurements get really, really fantastic, we're talking 0.00007%. If you're talking 8 ohms, about 10 watts. Now, most people, I think 10 watts is going to be plenty of power, especially if you have a very sensitive pair of speakers and get quite loud. Let's talk frequency response. 20 to 40 kilohertz. This thing measures very, very flat. Audio Science Review did a great write-up on the frequency response and all the lab measurements. But yeah, that's what this thing is designed to do, is to be very, very accurate. So if that's what you're looking for in an amp, this is going to be the ticket right here. Okay, let's talk about the physical specs of this amplifier. Weighs just a little over 6 pounds, 2.8 kilograms. It measures, I had to write this down, 22 centimeters across, which is 8.66 inches wide. It is 20.5 centimeters in depth, or just a little over 8 inches deep. And then you have your height, which is, I wrote this down, 9 centimeters tall, or about 3.5 inches in height. You have your on and off switch. There we go. You have your volume knob. Nice and smooth on that. Again, no remote. It's not motorized. Get back into focus. There we go. And then you have your input, off and on, and your input switch. And that's what you have on the front of the unit. On the back, you see the 3 XLR inputs, or you can use TRS or XLR. You have your speaker outputs. Then you have a spot for the firmware update, a bypass on the volume control, and then you have gain on there. It's either like 9 dB or 19.5 dB, stereo or mono mode. Very, very minimal on here, but you can use it as an integrated amplifier. You can use it in the volume control, or you can use it with a preamp. All right, so now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about what I use this with. And I used it with the Topping E50 DAC and the Weem Mini Streamer. Now, the Topping E50 DAC has a TRS output. So basically I used a TRS balanced connection with this, and that worked out very fine. And then for the streamer, I used the Weem Mini. I'm sorry, folks. I think that's one of the best deals going on the market for a streamer. Like 80 bucks or 90 bucks. Money well spent. All right. Then I also connected my NAD 538 CD player with that as well. So all digital. Everything I listened to was digital, either streaming, either through my Amazon HD account or Apple Music or some CDs, right? That's what I used it with. You know, I could have even used it with my turntable if I wanted to, because you can get RCA to TRS adapters, like $5 a pair or something like that on Amazon. I don't know how that would work out, but it's certainly worth a shot looking into. That is one of my complaints about this amp. They should have included single-ended connections on here. That would, I think, make it more useful to a lot of people. Music. Let's talk about that. I listened to Fleetwood Mac's live in Boston concert. Rihanna, by the way, sounds incredible on this CD. 44.1 16-bit Redbook is good enough for me. I'm not necessarily a big-time high-res number chaser kind of guy, but this is a fantastic sounding CD. So check that out if you get a chance. Let's see. Oh, yes. The Eagles, their greatest hits. Just some great music, a lot of dynamics in there. You know, the Eagles, not overly compressed. I think this is one of the better collections of Eagle songs out there that you can get. And then, oh, yes. Phil Collins. I'm not sure what the name of this CD is, but features In the Air Tonight. And this is one of the, just a fantastic track. You know, probably everybody knows that tune. Just phenomenal. Oh, one thing I forgot, the power supply. This is rated at 64 volts at 4 amps, makes it 250, I believe 256 watts. It's big, it's pretty bulky, it's heavy. It does the job. You've got this little 3-pin connector on there, like BNC type of connector on it. And that's what you get with that. Okay, so listen to my music, listen to streaming. For speakers, I use my Wharfdale Lintons, and then I use my Klipsch RP600Ms. And here's what I think. First off, this is a very neutral amplifier. To me, that's what I want. I believe that an amp that adds warmth and that kind of thing is giving you some type of more pleasant sounding distortion that's very pleasing to the ear. This is designed and engineered to be very neutral. Not sterile, not analytical. Just it takes the source, amplifies it, and puts it out the speakers. And I think that's exactly what you want. And if you're running, 3 or 4 watts, which is going to give you, like I said, with very sensitive speakers, can make things pretty loud. Like almost zero, distortion not even worth talking about. Not even worth talking about. If you ask me about things like the bass was very fast. It's very smooth. It's not muddy. It just delivers in the bass department. Mids were pleasing. No hint of sibilance. Nothing was fatiguing, either in the treble or the mids. Again, I can't stress to you enough how neutral this amplifier is. If I compared it to, say, my NAD 316 BV2, I think the B tends to sound a little bit brighter. If I compare it to my Yamaha AS501, the Yamaha sounds a little bit more warmth. It's got that more, well, if you're familiar with Yamaha amps and receivers, they just have this kind of a warmth to it. Sounds great, but again, this amp is designed, the LA90 is designed to be neutral. Treble was not fatiguing whatsoever. This amp is kind of small and a little over 8.5 inches wide. So You could put this on a desktop, you could put it on a bookshelf. It's very versatile due to its size, but it's very, very potent. Believe me, I think 50 watts at 8 ohms with under 1% distortion, and certainly 10 watts is like 0.00007%. I think that's going to be plenty for most people. I'm not comparing this with other amps in this price range because I tend to review and listen to things as the manufacturer intended. And like I said, I have the link to this below if you're interested in learning more about the Topping LA90 amplifier. That is my overall review of this amp. I think it's going to be a great amplifier for some people. Check it out. Bruce Naylor, your Boomer Consumer. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.